This is CBC Here and Now.
Back to work! Back to work!
Striking PSAC workers are ramping up their picket lines around St. John's and say they're in it for the long haul.
While the sunshine has been plentiful for most of the province, today finally caught a glimpse. But is it here to stay?
The School Lunch Association believes that this is the first time that moose has been served in one of its schools. I hang out with some students from Clarenville Middle School to try it out.
I think they're delicious.
Oh, they're awesome, man. They're awesome.
A 10 out of 10 experience.
One of the best things I've had in a while.
That story coming up on Here and Now. That's a tasty burger.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Heather Gillis filling in for Carolyn Stokes. Our top story tonight, passengers will soon be paying more to cross on Marine Atlantic ferries. The Crown Corporation is increasing its fuel surcharge, and the news didn't sit well with politicians on either side of the House of Assembly. Here and Now's Daryl Roberts has more.
On June 1st, Marine Atlantic will increase its fuel surcharge from 13% to 17%. That means customers will be paying more to get to and from the island of Newfoundland. The Premier says it wasn't his decision.
We all have concerns with how this will impact the supply chain in Newfoundland and Labrador. And I can tell you we will continue to advocate on the people of Newfoundland and Labrador so that the federal government hears and understands our concerns.
Marine Atlantic says the new charge is based on the average cost of fuel. The Minister of Tourism says the timing couldn't have been worse.
The Gulf is our Trans-Canada highway, and nobody would ever, tolerate, I guess, at this point, to see increases that are going to affect not only the tourism industry, but all industry in the province.
Hospitality Newfoundland and Labrador says it's disappointed by the timing too, saying it will deter tourists from coming to the province. But the impact goes beyond tourism. Industry Minister Andrew Parsons says it will make the trip more expensive for truckers, and that will mean higher prices for consumers. Parsons says Marine Atlantic is only partly to blame.
The issue today does not fall upon the shoulders of Marine Atlantic. It falls squarely upon the shoulders of the federal government. Marine Atlantic must operate within the budget envelope that they receive and within 65% cost recovery rate. That is federally imposed on them and has been for some time.
Parsons says the Federal Department of Transportation isn't living up to its responsibilities.
In the face of the constitutional obligation that the federal government has under Term 32 of the Union, this is not just our highway, this is our constitutional highway. This was a part of us joining the country of Canada. This was guaranteed, and right now we're facing more challenge than ever.
Meanwhile, the leader of the official opposition wants the province to step up.
This is going to be detrimental to the people of this province. I would have thought this administration would have been more proactive than reactive. Yeah, they can say they disagree with it and don't like it and all that. What have they been doing for the last 6 or 7 months?
Parsons says the provincial government is exploring its options, including the possibility of legal action. Daryl Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
And still with news from the House, the provincial government has more than doubled the number of people who can immigrate here through 2 separate governments after lobbying the federal government. The number of immigration spaces is up from 1,500 to just over 3,000. Those spaces are included in the provincial and Atlantic nominee programs. The provincial government must nominate newcomers for permanent residency, with the federal government making the final decision. Immigration Minister Jerry Burns says the province began lobbying Ottawa for more space after all of its spots for 2022 filled up by October.
We anticipate that this situation will not repeat itself in 2023 because, of course, we have effectively doubled our capacity, but our ambitions are strong, and we intend to not only meet our target of 5,100 newcomers to Newfoundland and Labrador by 2026, but it's clear and evident that we have the capacity. It would not be unfair to say that, or ridiculous to say, we are exceeding those targets.
Back to work! Back to work!
In other news, the Canadian Coast Guard building in St. John's was surrounded by strikers today who had 3 separate locations set up. Nearly 6,000 PSAC workers across the province are on picket lines. For public service worker Denise Hart, it's the second time she's ever been on strike. She says morale has taken a beating yesterday after talks broke down, but she says essential services are still being carried out, albeit slowly.
Local and national have a hardship fund, and we also get strike pay, so we're just taking it one day at a time and hoping for the best. Planning for the worst, hoping for the best. You know something, today is the day that weather has been improved for us and has helped our morale. And you know, luckily we have our burn barrels helping out and lots of community spirit. We've had lots of bumps from a lot of people in the community, so that's helping us tremendously.
And the price of gas is up slightly today, but the price of all other fuels have dipped. The Public Utilities Board raised the price of gas by 0.3 cents in their latest price adjustment. That means drivers on the Avalon will pay just under $1.71 per litre at the pumps. All other fuels are down. Furnace and stove oil are down by almost 5 cents across much of the province. On the island, diesel dropped by 5.5 cents a litre. To the town of St. Mary's now, where they are preparing for a big hit if crab processing isn't open this year. St. Mary's Bay Fisheries was awarded a snow crab license last year. That allowed the fish plant to process up to 2.5 million pounds of crab each year, and about 200 people were employed. But with the drop of crab prices this season, boats are tied up. The mayor of St. Mary's says that leaves his town in limbo.
When we got announced last year that we were getting a license, it was a celebration for the community, and like it was a light at the end of the tunnel because we have no industry here for the past 7 or 8 years. And now with this is like a lull as a cloud after coming back over the town. We know, and hopefully it'll be a light at the end of the tunnel for both the fishermen and the processors. But right now, the talk in the town, whoever you meet, is, did you hear anything about the crab pricing? Did you hear about the crab? Are they go fishing? It's all over the town, no matter where you go. That's the talk in the town.
Well, you have to admit, just a little glimpse of the sun changed everything today for quite a few people out there. Take a look at a live look. Finally, no fog and actually some blue water. It doesn't look just gray out there, and the buildings are actually white. That means that we are seeing some sunshine out there. 3 degrees, so it's still a bit chilly, but we squeezed a degree or two warmer because that sun came out. We're still looking at those northerly winds, though, around 26 kilometers per hour, but gusting around 37 at the moment. So we're still sitting under this big ridge of high pressure. That blocking pattern still very much in place, but we've got a bit of a shift in the wind, and that allowed that cloud cover to stay offshore through a good chunk of the afternoon today. So temperatures still only between 1 and 4 degrees, but again, it felt a bit nicer. Balmy in Deer Lake at 13 degrees today. Still, the top spot was in Churchill Falls at 14 degrees this afternoon. Take a look at what's going to happen in the temperature forecast for eastern Newfoundland as we head through the next couple of hours. They're going down to about -1 overnight tonight, but that sunshine still very much in place in Goose Bay. 11 degrees at the moment. Your temperature will dip, though, as well, down to the single digits. We'll talk about the long range or the forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Changes are coming to the GO bus service in the St. John's area starting Sunday. Metrobus is starting a wait list, but some GO bus riders aren't happy about it. In a letter, Metrobus says ridership is rebounding after the pandemic, and on top of it, there's a shortage of drivers. It means they can't fulfill all the ride requests. They're picking up passengers late and have even had to cancel some weekend rides. Now, people waitlisted will be notified by noon the day before their trip if they're going to get a ride. Deborah Jackman, lives with a disability and uses GO Bus. She says changes will make it hard for her to get around.
It could mean that you could get canceled. Your ride could get canceled, and at the last minute, basically. And that means that any kind of appointment that you have or anywhere where you're going means that you can't go. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if I'm running out of groceries and I can't get groceries or going to the doctor's office.
John Abbott, who is the Minister for the Status of Persons with Disabilities, says the issue lies with the City of St. John's recruiting more drivers, and the province will do what it can to help.
We recognize that that's the challenge for them. It's certainly their issue. For our part, if there's anything we can do expedite the licensing of bus drivers, those kinds of things which fall within our domain, we'll make sure we do that. But for us, we'll just have to observe and support them in whatever way we can.
The School Lunch Association expanded its menu for a day. Students at Clarenville Middle School were served locally sourced moose burgers yesterday, thanks to a generous donation. The school chef prepared the patties and served about 150 of them. Here and Now's Jeremy Eaton dropped by for a bite.
Many students here at Clarenville Middle School, having a feed of moose is nothing new, but having it served to them in school certainly is.
One of the things we've been trying to do a lot more of lately is source local food. And so we were very fortunate that the Newfoundland and Labrador Credit Union obtained a nonprofit license and were successfully able to harvest some moose. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Tony Young. And in turn, the NLCU donated the harvest of the moose to our school lunch program. And we're offering it here today at the school. We sent out some surveys out of the 41 schools in which we operate, and we polled some parents. And the response was really receptive in the more rural areas, so Clarenville being one here today, and we're looking forward to duplicating this event again in June at a school in the Goulds. Depending on the size of the kitchen and the amount of numbers we're serving, it could be anywhere from 2 to 3 staff. And as I said, we're fortunate today to have some volunteers from Eastern Health, the regional nutritionists, to give us an extra hand here today.
We got an envelope come across my desk 3-4 years ago, and I kind of looked at it and decided to open it up because we used to run our own program, and I actually didn't believe it was true. So I called him up and I asked him about the program, and he explained how it works. I really didn't see it working at our school just because of the proximity of all the fast food next to us. And I explained to him, I said, you might get 20 or 30 meals a day, and that might be it. And man, it took off. So we're up to about an average of about 125 a day there now, so it's excellent. I thought it was awesome. It was a great idea, and we're lucky enough to have a chef on our staff who serves our lunch, so he was very excited to get something that he could actually make himself. And so, yeah, we were really excited to do it.
Do you eat a lot of moose? Is this something that you would eat a lot at home?
This is the first time I've had it.
First time you've ever had moose. So, what did you think?
One of the best things I've had in a while.
When was the last time you had a moose burger?
It's been a few years. I was around 7 years old.
So it's been a couple of years. What do you think of the moose burger?
Oh, they're absolutely amazing.
You eat a lot of moose burgers?
Usually once a summer, or maybe I haven't had one in a while, maybe 3 years or 4.
So how cool is it to be able to have one here at school?
Great. It's delicious.
Yeah, I love moose.
And how do you usually eat moose?
Normally I'll have blood pudding.
So what is it like to be able to have a moose burger here at school today?
It's nice.
Oh, they're awesome, man. They're awesome.
It was really good. 10 out of 10 experience.
I think they're delicious.
As somebody who eats moose twice a month, what do you think of the moose burger that you're being served here today?
They're really good.
Do you eat a lot of moose?
Well, no, not really.
What do you think of the moose burger that you're having for lunch today?
I think it's really good. It's delicious.
We're very pleased with today. We strive every day to offer a healthy, nutritious lunch to children and youth. And today, this is a very healthy choice. It's a very lean protein, less saturated fat, and it's local.
That's a tasty burger.
That story has made me hungry. Moving on now, the International Toronto Film Festival Hot Docs begins today, and a Makhovik filmmaker is making their debut. Holly Anderson is the director of Hebron Relocation. The film was created through the Newfoundland and Labrador Documentary Project, and the National Film Board initiative supports Indigenous storytelling by working with first-time Labrador Inuit filmmakers. Anderson spoke with Labrador Morning's Heidi Adder.
I grew up with my grandparents. My grandmother was relocated. She was born
the NFB, National Film Board of Canada, they had posted on Facebook, we're looking for Inuit filmmakers with ideas for a film. And first, I didn't really, I just seen it and like, okay, kind of brushed it off. But then my teacher, Joan Anderson, when I was in grade 5, she mentioned, hey, did you see this? And I said, yeah, I seen it. She's like, you should put an idea in. Like, you never know what could happen.
People who've been relocated.
Then about a month later, I had an email saying that my idea was chosen. There were 4 out of 17. So I was pretty pumped about that. growing up, I didn't know about the relocation. So when my idea got chosen, it was like, oh man, okay, now I have to find out whatever I can to make sure I can tell this story properly. And like, it is a sensitive topic and kind of traumatic. So, well, I think it's kind of like put yourself in their shoes kind of deal. Like, I wouldn't want somebody exploiting my trauma and triggering me left and right like that. I wouldn't want that. So it was, I don't know. And I just think it's just the way I grew up is just to respect people. So that was my main concern is I don't want to trigger people. I don't want that trauma to resurface in any way by watching this. Like, let's do it the gentlest way possible, but still get the facts out, even kind of a harder fact that might have happened, but not enough to be like pushing it in your face. Like, this is what happened. It's like, yeah, this happened. This is real. This really happened to people, and they're still trying to deal with it to this day. So
well, this truck is waiting outside Pier 17, and it's waiting because these picketers are blocking the way in. They're making everybody who wants to cross here wait 20 minutes. The latest on the strike coming up.
Well, the sun made a bit of an appearance today for some areas. There is lots more of that, though, in the forecast for other parts of the province. We will talk all about it coming up.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Early bird prize deadline is midnight Friday, May 5th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Welcome back to the show. Ashley's here now with your full weather forecast and a peek of the sun today.
Did it make you feel a little happier?
I saw something bright out the window for just a moment.
Yeah, I went outside and my eyes started watering. I don't know if I was crying or just joking.
So bright.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see a little bit of the sunshine. I mean, I know it was just a glimpse of it, but after we are going on day 11, I believe, of no sun. So let's just say it was nice. And I know all of the other people who are enjoying the nice, beautiful sunshine shared with us, so that's nice. But let's take a look at what's going on right now. So we have an area of low pressure in the North Atlantic that is spinning all these northerly winds right to us. And you can see those temperatures around as well, like Reykjavik, 3 degrees 2 in Nuuk, and it's 3 degrees in St. John's at the moment. And those temperatures even up along the coast of Labrador, 1, I should say, in Nain. So if we take a look at the pattern over the next little bit, there's that area of low pressure offshore. Watch, it doesn't move, and it doesn't move as we head into the beginning of next week, and it doesn't move as we head into the middle of next week. Now, the only time that I see a change in the long-range forecast out of this northerly flow is not until we get into the beginning of May, the first full week of May. May 7th, it looks like we may see a little bit of a break in this northerly flow. What that would mean is we may see some milder temperatures associated with that, but then even still, after that long-range forecast, it looks like we'll return to that northerly flow. And I know this is still weeks away, but these give us a kind of an indication of what is what's going to happen. So are we going to see those temperatures warm up? Are we going to see a break in that flow? And the answer to that is briefly, but then moves right back in as we head into the middle of May. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on that. But we are certainly in this blocking pattern, and for the time being, we'll have to live with it. Temperatures will be hovering, or did hover, I should say, about 4 degrees today in the warmest in St. John's, but all along the northeast coast, you're still looking at temperatures 2 degrees in Bonavista, 1 in Twillingate, and then Lassie squeezed out 6 degrees today. So we are starting to see a little bit of warmer weather, but even just that little glimpse of sun or break in the cloud cover really jumps up that temperature. And you can see that in Gander, 6 degrees finally today. So wherever you are in that sunshine, you are seeing absolutely beautiful weather. 13 degrees in Deer Lake and 11 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. So there's certainly some spring. Now, we've been seeing lots of sunshine, but Daniels Harbor, it looks like some fog's moving in for you. And the reason for that is, again, this onshore flow, and you can really see that. Although light winds, it is onshore flow for those of you along the strait there and along the northern peninsula, I should say. Now, there's a bit of a wind chill out there as well. Bonavista, you're feeling more like -8 at the moment. And then other than that, not much to speak of, just along the coast into the minus single digits for those of you in coastal Labrador. So satellite still showing that ice pack very much out there, very much in play, but it is heading south at the moment. And lots of sunshine, some fog patches on the west coast of the island as well. And that's going to continue tonight as we head through the overnight. These clouds are going to fill right back in. And we're actually going to talk about the potential for some flurries in the mix all along the northeast coast, maybe through central as well. The cloud cover should edge further south as we head through the overnight as well. And then other than that, your temperatures will be hovering within a couple of degrees of zero, but below that. And the winds out of the northwest between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. Elsewhere across the province, your winds will be generally light. Can't rule out the chance of a few showers in Lab City as well. But you should actually see those skies clearing as we head through the overnight. So for tomorrow, better chance of actually seeing some cloud cover on the west coast and south coast than we have been seeing over the past little bit. Don't worry, it's not going to last long, maybe a couple of days, and that should move off. But don't be surprised to see a few flurries, certainly in the higher elevations on the west coast. Won't accumulate too much, but the chance is certainly still there. Now, as far as temperatures go for tomorrow, because of that cloud cover, keeping your temperatures a bit cooler than they have been, so only reaching about 7 degrees in Corner Brook. Winds will be breezy. all along the northeast coast, again between 30 and 50 kilometers per hour. But again, you'll likely see a few peaks of sun. Best weather will be in Port Basque, again about 10 degrees as your daytime high. Coastal areas of Labrador, flurries, freezing drizzle or drizzle through the day as your temperatures start to climb up 3 to 5 degrees for most of the southeast, and then around 1 degree for northern Labrador. The rest of the big land between 6 and a little cooler. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, you're sitting around 8. That's your forecast. We'll look ahead when I come back.
We're here at the end of Water Street. Some of the strikers are taking some action here outside this Coast Guard entrance. Mark Power is one of the strike area coordinators. So Mark, what's going on here?
Well, Anthony, just like many of the strike lines around the city here, we're gathered here today in front of the Louis Saint Laurent, and we're expressing our right to strike. And this is one of the best strike lines we've had around the city, and it's gone on too long. So all around the city today, we're amping up, as we will over the next few days in the face of the intransigence of this employer.
So what's going on specifically here? Because I see the workers, the strikers, I should say, they're blocking the area here. And here we see a worker right behind us who's trying to get in. What's going on?
So right now we are delaying our essential workers, some essential workers and other bargaining units. We want them to understand, taking the time, I should say, to explain to them what the strike's all about. But eventually some of the workers certainly have to get to their platform like a Coast Guard vessel to do their work. So that's what we're doing today, and we really want the public and all those that it's not critical for to respect our picket line.
So you're making sure that they have essential service letters and they have to wait a while?
Yeah, so some of that check and some of that time that we need to check with them is to ensure that the right credential they have is what is in play for them to get to their work site.
Pretty cold day today. How's morale holding up?
Absolutely very good. With a big rally on Parliament Hill yesterday and another one planned no doubt down the road and through all of our regions across Canada, our resolve is growing in the face of yesterday's Treasury Board Minister indicating that they're not budging. So this is an employer of 320 plus thousand workers that is often stood in front of other workers and proud to talk about those industries and technologies that they're investing in, and it's about time that that government invested in its own workers.
With respect to the wages, and I think everybody, no matter what you do for a living, knows how expensive everything is the difference really as simple as the difference between 9% and 12%?
The difference is staggering because our buying power has gone down. Over my longer career, my buying power has gone down more than 5% over inflation for all those years. So yeah, absolutely. And many economists and a lot of the Canadian public are finally seeing that simple math, and they agree with us that certainly inflation is not too much to ask for over all these years.
Any fears, Mark, that this could go on for a while? Because I hear some people saying if it goes much beyond next week, that maybe you're looking at a couple of months?
Our resolve is here as long as it takes to get a fair deal, and we're solidly behind our leadership that is expressing that at the national level. So it'll take as long as it takes, and we'll continue to talk to our members all across the country to gauge that, but we're here for as long as it takes to get a great deal.
As you know, in the early days of any kind of labor dispute, morale is high. The weather is going to get better, but people are going to start realizing that, okay, I'm not going to get paid for this week, I'm not going to get paid for that week. How do you sort of make sure that the people behind us sort of say, I can't make my mortgage payments if it goes down the road? How do you maintain that morale if this does drag on?
Well, the labor movement across the country has supported one another in all kinds of disputes and all kinds of unrest, and we look for that, and we may have to look for that. A strike fund is there for our membership in this labor dispute, and we'll rely on that as well. But we'll be there to counsel our members and give them the best instruction we can when it comes to those decisions.
All right, I see there's a very big truck that's trying to get in, so I guess I'll wind things down with that. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you so much.
And the strike saw no negotiation breakthroughs today, and strikers took their tactics beyond the usual picket line locations. Hundreds came to Pearson International Airport. Officials there reported only minor disruptions. A U.S. border crossing in Quebec saw a union march. Again, no serious traffic blockages reported there either. And strikers paid a visit to Federal Minister François-Philippe Champagne's office. Champagne spoke with some of them. Wages and remote work remain some of the central points of contention.
They assume that everybody on disability or who's disabled using the Metrobus are poor, and that's not the case.
Pushing back against prejudice, Deborah Jackman has relied on the Go Bus. Just ahead, why a new waitlist plan won't work for her. Welcome back to the show. As we mentioned earlier, Metrobus is starting a wait list for its Go Bus users starting on Sunday. And like many other industries these days, the public transit company is short-staffed, and on top of it, they say more people are looking for rides. And the crunch means that some passenger trips have been canceled while others have been picked up late. Deborah Jackman lives with a disability and uses the Go Bus. Here's how she says the change will affect her day-to-day life. Tell us about that letter that you received from Metrobus about changes to Go Bus. What does it say?
Well, what it said that really was devastating was that they were going to create a wait list and put you on some pending list, and it could mean that you could get canceled. Your ride could get canceled, and at the last minute, basically. That means that any kind of appointment that you have or anywhere where you're going means that you can't go. And, you know, if I'm running out of groceries and I can't get groceries, or going to the doctor's office. I have a doctor's appointment on Monday, and it means that if they don't have the ride available, that means that I can't go to my doctor's appointment. And that also means that with doctor's appointments, if you miss, they can charge you $40 or $1, might be more now. And I mean, I can't afford $40, you know, but you already feel isolated because you can't. I have great neighbors that I can help me pick some things up, like my cat litter and stuff like that, which is too heavy. So my neighbors get it for me and they bring it in. But I can't afford to get a cab, and you know, I'm living on fixed income. I feel disrespected because it's like that idea that they assume that we don't have anywhere to go or anything to do, you know? This feeling of like, I think it's a stigma. And I'm not saying that they're trying to do that, you know? I do appreciate this letter, but there's a kind of a stigma that's always there, and a you know, a prejudice with that is like they assume that everybody on disability or who's disabled using Metrobus are poor. And that's not the case. A lot of people go to work. That's why we use them, you know.
What would you like to see the Go Bus do to change this and make it easier for people like yourself who rely on the service?
Buying more buses and paying for more drivers, getting more drivers. I just think that the value needs to be placed with getting more buses, paying the drivers better. I would say pay the drivers better, give them what they deserve. They're put in a situation of like they're taking care of our safety. I mean, I know Metro buses too, but Go Bus drivers do way more. Like they do way more because they drop us off, they pick us up, you know. And I've had, you know, some people walk to me on their arm to make sure I get to my little, even if it's only like a few feet, you know. And you can't help but create a bond with some of these people, you know. And it really hurts me to know that that we're in this situation. But I did have an experience on Sunday. The bus didn't show. And
how did that impact you when it didn't show up?
Well, you know, you're already waiting in this window of half an hour, right? You got to wait, and you know, I'm at my swim, you know, so I have to get out and wait. And luckily, there's chairs there. That's always nice. And not every place got chairs or benches, you know. It really impacts me because the time that you wait, you know, it's just. It's not fair. Like I don't want to be a second-class citizen. I don't want to be viewed as that. I'm equal to everybody else. We're all equal, and that's, you know, I guess that's where I stand on everything.
And we did reach out to Metrobus for comment on this story, but haven't heard back. Turning now to our Atlantic investigative series, Police and Public Trust. CBC has been looking into how public complaints about police officers are processed and has found that police consider most of the complaints to be unsubstantiated. Tonight, Shayna Luck is looking into one particular type of police complaint in Halifax, racial profiling.
I mean, for me, driving is freedom. I don't have to wait for nobody. I'm not on anybody else's time but my time.
Kayla Borden likes driving most of the time, just not when she passes a police car.
It feels weird. I mean, I'm always looking at my surroundings, like, you know, like, are they gonna stop me?
In the summer of 2020, she was pulled over and arrested. Police were searching for a car that had fled from them, but they got the wrong car. Borden filed a complaint of racial profiling, which was dismissed. She's now appealing that decision.
In top.
She's hardly the first Black person in Halifax to allege discrimination.
It's very important that I can fight for my rights.
More than 20 years ago, Olympic boxer Kirk Johnson filed a similar complaint. A human rights tribunal agreed with him, and Halifax police are still receiving complaints of racism today. CBC filed access to information requests for police complaint and discipline records. Halifax police at first refused, but after going to court, the department agreed to release 120 documents. The department declined to talk to us about these, but the disclosure contained 12 complaints referencing discrimination on the basis of race or ethnicity. Internal investigators found all 12 unsubstantiated. The documents provided insight into how officers make decisions on allegations like racial profiling. In one complaint by a driver, the investigator looked at the race of all the drivers an accused officer pulled over that day. There were 9 stops total. 5 of the drivers were white, 1 was black, 1 was Indigenous, 1 was Asian, and 1 was listed as Middle Eastern. The senior officer reasoned that this didn't indicate racial profiling. I do not believe that the above incidents indicate a pattern, he wrote. This expert says, while this may be a legitimate attempt to find answers, there's a flaw in the logic.
The sample size is so small that you may not be able to make the kinds of meaningful conclusions you think you're able to make based on the amount of data that you have.
Brian also says making decisions about systemic things like racial profiling based on individual complaints misses a lot of important context. He thinks there's a better way to understand systemic racism. It's called race-based data, which means every time police stop someone, they'd record the race of that person. Over time, we could see whether certain groups are more likely to be stopped than others. Last September, Nova Scotia said it is starting to do that work.
It's really important, given those histories, to have a method of sort of collecting information to see how those kinds of relationships and outcomes are perhaps changing.
As for Kayla Borden, she's still waiting for a decision on her case. Race-based data will not change anything for her, but it might help bring a greater future understanding of allegations of discrimination in policing. Shayna Luck, CBC News, Halifax.
Window display started when, my dad, who was Arthur Jenkins, he used to just put in fittings and things that they make here in the shop. And so I always walked the Water Street with my grandmother and seen all the window displays. So I wanted to do a window display.
Hear about 40 years of window displays at a St. John's metal shop. That story is coming up. Welcome back to the show. You can see a lot of nifty displays in the shops of windows in downtown St. John's, but perhaps the niftiest of all isn't for sale. A dozen tiny Tin Man figurines are having a kitchen party in the window of Jenkins and Puttister Sheet Metal on Hamilton Avenue. It's in celebration of the shop's 40th birthday, but as you're about to see, window displays are a long-running tradition at this family-run business.
I do like Wizard of Oz, and I really just wanted to try something. The Tin Man was one of the things that I could relate with at the time, so that's what I went with.
It's really fun to come up with the idea every year what seasonal window I'm going to put there, because it makes people smile, and they actually call me and tell me, I can't wait for your next window.
My name is Robert Puttycombe. I'm the owner of Jenkins Puttycombe Sheet Metal. This is our first dollar from 1983. It was myself and my father-in-law originally started the business. I guess that's probably where I took my interest in the sheet metal trade, was from him. Plus the fact I was dating his daughter. And shortly after that, my brother was dating his other daughter. And then we've got another brother, John. John is usually on the bench. He's on vacation right now. But like I say, keep it all in the family.
Window displays started when, well, my dad, who was Arthur Jenkins, he used to just put in fittings and things that they make here in the shop. And so I always walked the Water Street with my grandmother and seen all the window displays. So I wanted to do a window display. Well, they're celebrating 40 years this year, so they're having a little party. They're using their instruments, so little tiny violins and things like that. But yeah, they're just having a big old kitchen party for celebrating our 40th. Everybody's had their favorite windows. My favorite ones to do are Christmas, and I really like to do it for the kids. And every year you hear, that's my favorite, that's the best one.
I think that's the best one, yeah. I would say you got about 12 hours work to make one. You're gonna burn your fingertips by the time we solder all the pieces together. Well, the whole part of it is keeping the old tinsmith work around. So if you need a smoke pipe, you needed a chimney top, everything was all made by hand.
The thing now is that they're learning when they come here, because we still are hands-on with a lot of it. Everything is not done by machinery. So anybody that actually works here goes out with the experience of what it's like to be a tinsmith.
Back when we originally started the business, we never looked ahead 40 years. Now you're looking back 40 years and it's like, okay, yeah, you really made it.
I don't know what we would have done without the place. It just feels natural now.
And not to have the Tin Man as a logo, I think we'd be kind of lost right now.
It seems like he's been around forever with us, so.
And there's so many people looking to purchase the little Tin Men. But the little Tin Men are display only.
Not for sale.
Not for sale.
Even for another one of those dollars?
Doesn't make any difference what it's for. It's just not for sale.
And thanks to our Zach Gowdy for that story. In national news now, the Prime Minister is in New York. One item on his agenda, co-chairing a UN task force on sustainable development.
Us is alone in this, and none of us can imagine that if we take care of ourselves, we'll make it through. That's not true anymore, and that's not going to happen in the world. And that's where countries of all different sizes and types need to be much more engaged in making sure that our neighbors are doing well, that people on the other side of the world have the same kinds of opportunities.
A key message during his trip is to signal Ottawa's commitment to supporting reproductive rights. It will spend nearly $200 million over 5 years and millions more after that. Government says it's been working with about 1,500 organizations so far. Hundreds of lobster harvesters set their traps yesterday off Prince Edward Island. About 365 boats took part. This was the view at sunrise. Isn't that just gorgeous? Now, not much will be known about the price of stocks for another few days, but as Nicola McLeod reports, fishers there are already feeling optimistic about the season.
It was a calm but chilly morning as the boats pulled out of the Beach Point harbor. The season is starting a few days earlier than it has in the past, and crews say they're happy to be back on the water.
I couldn't ask for a better morning than this. Flat calm and sun's up, no fog, and it's been a terrific start. We're slowed off, that's the tricky one, and get back in the swing of things, get the blood pumping.
Some boats set their first load of traps and were back at the wharf within 30 minutes, ready to make a second trip.
It's nice to get your stake in the bottom. We're just on the reef. It's only 10 minutes out. It's a short sail, so and the gear is pretty packed. So it's nice to get the first load down, and then you can pick and choose and find your little spots for the next couple of loads.
The industry is hoping this will be a rebound year. During the pandemic, there were challenges. There was too much stock in storage that was not being sold. Restaurants were closed. But the Lobster Marketing Board says the global demand is back and higher than before.
We're hearing a good price, but I guess we'll know when we get our first catch.
I think it's going to be good. I heard a few things there. It's supposed to be good. Yeah.
What have the last few seasons been like for you?
Pretty good. You can't complain about it, Still eating.
Lobster crews in other parts of the region have been getting $13 to $14 a pound this spring. That price typically drops as more fishing areas open. The catch is certainly top of mind, but some are also taking in the damage from post-tropical storm Fiona along the shore for the first time.
The old fellow that fishes here on this boat, we were out here and there used to be land out here, and he said it's all covered over now because of Fiona or whatever.
Most crews took today to set their traps, some going as far as Pictou Island or nearly to Cape Breton. They will then head out early tomorrow morning to bring back their first haul.
The forecast is looking wonderful again, and it's kind of like Christmas to us, Open up the first traps and hopefully we'll find some good presents.
The season will be open for about 9 weeks. Nicola McLeod, CBC News, Beach Point.
As we just saw there, weather looking really good in PEI here.
Well, I mean, that ridge of high pressure is keeping most of us in that sunshine, so
right.
That's good news. But same old again. Let's take a look at the forecast as we head into Friday evening and Saturday. So not a whole lot of change. Now, we are still looking through at least the first half of Saturday, the chances of some showers or flurries through the day. That'll be the same up across coastal areas of Labrador. Not quite as much though. You're more looking just dry, but the chance that, or a good chance we will see the sun, especially through central areas of Labrador, along the west coast and along the south coast again. So temperatures a bit cooler, between 8 and 9 degrees through the day, and northeast coast between 2 and 3 degrees through the afternoon hours on Saturday. So as far as Sunday is concerned, like Saturday evening into Sunday, it actually looks like the best day of the weekend by far, pretty much for everybody. But note what happens, we get back into that northwesterly flow, but it's still going to linger. That cloud cover is still going to linger right along the coast, so it should stay cloudy for the most part. Generally dry though, at least through the second half of the day. And other than that, absolutely beautiful Sunday on tap for most, somewhere between 7 and 11 degrees. Cooler towards coastal areas of Labrador between 2 and 5 degrees, but Happy Valley, Goose Bay back up into those double digits. 11 degrees will be your daytime high. 2, 3, 4 degrees where we're going to see that cloud cover, and potentially some flurries stick around as well. Long range forecast still gray, climbing a little bit as we get into Monday and Tuesday, 4 or 5 degrees. Also windy weekend. Tomorrow will be the start of that, but the winds will pick up both Saturday and Sunday. And then for central Newfoundland, you're looking at some sunshine by the time we get into Sunday, and then returning to some of the more unsettled conditions for Monday and Tuesday. And then western Newfoundland, you should stay dry for the most part, but look for some more cloud cover by the time we get into Tuesday, between 10 and about 12 degrees as your daytime highs. And then for eastern Labrador, look at that. Beautiful forecast, 9 to 11 degrees, lots of sunshine in the mix for you. And then for western Labrador, you'll get The mix of sun and cloud right through Monday, but Tuesday we're looking at some showers and or flurries in the forecast. Look at this beauty of a shot. Just sunshine just makes everything much nicer. So this is spring in Bombay Pond. Anne shared this lovely shot with us. If you have any weather photos, you can send them to Facebook, or best place is always to email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Looking lovely. Ice almost gone off those ponds there. Isn't that nice? And that's the way we're going around a lot of parts of the province.
Yeah.
Ice melting off a lot of the ponds and stuff.
Snow's mostly gone.
Yep. Trails clear so you can get out and enjoy when we get some sunshine back. Well, on that note, that is our show for this evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.
Good night.